60 Minutes with Angela starts right now.
Come February 16, 2019, Nigerians will troop to the polls to elect either a new president or return the incumbent, Muhammadu Buhari. At the moment in Nigeria, there are about 91 political parties. How will the Nigerian voter navigate his way through those 91 political parties? Well, hello and welcome to the program. I'm Angela Ajetomobi. He's a former banker, an author, an economist, and now the national chairman of his party, the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party, Anrp. He's been national chairman since February 2018. He's the founder and chief executive officer of Global Analytics Consulting. He holds an economics degree from the Ondo State University here in Nigeria, an associate chartered accountant since 1996. With a master's degree in financial markets and derivatives from London's Metropolitan University, with a distinction that he earned in 2006. At the moment, he's studying for his PhD in public policy and administration. He's aspiring to the presidential seat here in Nigeria, representing his party, the Anrp. Tope Fasua joins me on the program today. Thank you very much, Mr. Fasua, for coming on the program with me today.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me.
In June 2017, you hosted the Independent National Electoral Commission at your corporate headquarters in Abuja. At that time, you were still looking forward to registration, and then registration happened. Today, there are about 91 political parties. Do you regret going through all that process and stress to register the party, especially now that the space looks crowded?
A very interesting question to start with. When people ask me about this issue of 91 parties, I always say that you can't tell people not to think. Everybody's in their room thinking, okay, how can we get involved and so on. And I think that there's this upsurge in the number of political parties because of the disappointment with the status quo, really, must be said. Maybe a lot of people felt, look, we thought that we had turned the corner for those of them who supported Buhari and co. And people felt, look, things weren't moving the way it should. And you'd see the time when that boost came. It was probably about a year to a year and a half after the inauguration of this present regime. You know that about 6 months in the beginning, there were no ministers, we didn't know where we were going. The country went into a deeper recession, which had started in the former regime and so on. People felt quite disappointed. I think I was one of those kind of people. But when I started, when I made that move and called people together and said, guys, let's get this done. We were kind of pioneers. I was a pioneer because at that time, most Nigerian youths, including many people who are now in this space today, trying to be president and so on, they weren't thinking of politics. The first thing that happened was that sometime in November or thereabout in 2016, I'd gotten frustrated enough. I said, listen, I'm running for president in 2019. No matter what happens, I'm not going to be a spectator. So I stepped forward. Then the issue was now, how do we get this done?
Yes.
And of course,
what platform will you use?
What platform will we use? We looked at the big so-called platforms, and it didn't seem very likely that people like us would be absorbed in there. Apart from the fact that there's this huge crowd there, and people have to take a tally number and so on. And so it was evident that, listen, what we needed to do was start a party. So I'll say I'm one of those few young guys who also started. Because, hey, from the point we started to the point we were given an approval, it took a year.
Yes.
And that was because we played it straight. We didn't go there with bags of Ghana must go. We didn't have anyway. Nobody also demanded any such from us. So
Yes.
we went through the entire process. Some people may get it earlier, but we went through the process. They took us through the ringer, and everything. And at the end of the day, we got it done. So no regrets whatsoever. Let everybody come and express themselves. Some people have also said that a number of the parties that are in the space, the 91, a number of them are appendages of the old party.
They only exist on paper.
Exactly. Many people exist. It's not easy running a party anyway. That's the truth was said. So for anyone who holds a license, I respect them. Running day to day, paying your rent, paying your dues, employing your staff, and also bringing up ideas day to day to keep your crowd engaged, to keep your members engaged is a lot of work.
A lot of work.
And of course, when you start this kind of initiative, be ready to run it alone. Otherwise, you're going to be on your own. If you haven't actually thought about it to a logical conclusion, to say, okay, this is where I can carry this party to, and so on. Don't expect people to rush at it.
Okay. And since July 2018, the last time I checked, you had about 53,000 members. This is September 2018. Has that number increased?
Absolutely. Yeah, hopefully we should be around 55,000 plus right now as we speak. A rate of conversion, of course, there's a plateau. There's a kind of learning curve. Higher in the beginning, then it kind of slows down. So many parties are in the space now. What we know is that we have quite a number of admirers who are actually not members of the party. Right. If you like, you'd say that our party appeals to the middle class, really, because we are talking about ideas here, We're talking about paying dues, right? We've seen ourselves reducing the dues from 15,000 per annum to about 10,000, down to about 3,000 now.
Do people pay?
Because it's so alien to Nigerians now, unfortunately, which tells you that we're in reverse. Because I remember someone's dad's action group card, where they used to pay 1 shilling in 1951. And that 1 shilling wasn't small money anyway. But people pay because people seem to understand their civic duty a lot more at that time than now. So right now we live in this dog-eat-dog society. Everyone's chasing money and all of that. People don't really care about Nigeria. What are you talking about? Civic duty. Guys are trying to get paid and so on, which is not good for us, really.
Do you find that people join the party and expect you to give them something?
Absolutely, so many. That's it. As much as we are kind of targeted at the middle class, because we defined it very clearly in the beginning. Look, we want people who have jobs to join us.
Yes.
Right? If you have jobs, you'll be able to pay your dues. If you don't have jobs, okay, don't pay your dues. I'm going to tell you. In fact, if you don't have jobs, maybe you're a graduate or something, and what we demand from you, we want your CV. We have a kind of database. We put the CV in. Sometimes some job opportunities come from members of the party, or even outside. We put it through the system, and we get people applying from within the party as a way of helping them. That's the idea. Still the idea. But this is a vast suite of people who believe that. Want to say you're in politics, you're a politician, a big man, they want to worship you. Many of them will tell you how hard life is.
And they expect you to give them something.
It's quite worrisome because it wasn't quite like that way back when, or in the 40s and the 50s, 60s, when the first set of parties came on in this country. People who joined the parties were people who wanted to be responsible to the parties.
Initially, you didn't seem to be interested in contesting any elective post. I think when I first stumbled on you and your party, you were actively seeking to have a party as an alternative platform to the existing parties. But I didn't think that you were going for an elective office. Then, of course, you declared on 17th of May this year, 2018, as an aspirant. Are you the only one within your party? Will you be holding primaries?
Certainly. We'll be holding primaries. Yes, initially in November 2016, as I said earlier on, the first thing I did was to say I'm running, right? Yes. The second thing was now how, and none of that. Then the party idea came. And then I think I wrote an article at that time on Facebook, which is where I usually have a lot of my engagements, and you could say that was where the party was from.
Yes.
And I titled it The Vision. I remember using a picture I got off the internet, which was the picture of Republican presidential nominees or presidential aspirants in the US, all stood up, in their suits and so on, and then in a kind of debate and said, look, the way this will work for those people like me to be able to join politics and get involved is to create a party where all of us can compete. And in competing, we will not be looking at where you were from, whether you're north, south, because I said, look, what we needed the best ideas come 2019. Enough already. We had given a lot of these other guys a lot of opportunity, including Buhari, Jonathan, and co. So for us, it was something we're going to start afresh. I said, look, I imagine 2-3 people from northwest, northeast, and so on, including southwest, southeast, south, stepping up because they were fired up and they had the idea to take this country forward. And then we have a very robust debate, because debate and ideas was the only thing that could save us from 2019. What I then did was, the moment we started the idea of the party, I stopped talking about it. I stopped talking about my ambition, because you don't want to color stuff like that. But I knew that I would be stepping forward, and I wanted also very smart people to step up with me. I'm actually the second person that's stepping up. Actually, let me say I'm the third. One of them, he said he's not quite ready, he dropped off. That's Chris Emejuru. He's based in the US. Then another gentleman, Aina Nwosu, he's based in Scotland. He was a bit more serious, and he had been doing a lot of campaigning, almost a year, before I stepped forward and say, hey, I'm going for this. But hey, when people start parties, usually, it's not just with a view to starting a wonderful party that looks so pretty to everybody. It's because they're interested in getting involved in governance.
In the process.
Right? Exactly. So whether you're talking about action groups started by people like Abafumi Olowo, you could see that they were becoming premier and all that. Zeke getting involved in NTNC was also becoming a premier, the president and so on. So Zeke, Olowo, Azikwe were chairman of their parties then. You could say that it was a parliamentary system, but they were chairmen, they were also the front runners in politics. Equally for people like Gani Fayemi, people like Tuji Braithwaite. They formed their party, they ran on it. You don't form a party because it's such a precious and very expensive thing to do. That when you form it with a view to seeing how your ideas can be mainstreamed and bringing people on board as well. So Anrp, we've contested in Ekiti, we're competing in Osun. We have candidates in many places like Oyo, like Ogun, like Lagos, everywhere. So that's what we want to do. So you'll be hearing a lot more about this party as we go along.
All right. Considering what the political landscape is today, do you think it is practical for a party as new as yours to put forward a presidential candidate? And I'm asking you that because in the last elections in July, this 2018, in Ekiti, the governorship elections, your party scored 125 votes compared to what Fayemi, the governor-elect, had about 197,000
they know what they did.
Fayoshi's 178,000. So do you think it is practical to put forward a presidential candidate at this time?
Absolutely. And the idea behind Ekiti, behind Osun, is that when you're going to battle the Goliath, no matter how tiny David may be, sometimes you need to do some press-ups, right?
Yes.
So those 125 votes in Ekiti were the 125 people who stood by the party till the end. Like they say, for a person, if 2 out of 100 of your friends are true to you, then you're very lucky.
Yes.
Because that's life. At the end of the day, you're really on your own. And I was on ground in Ekiti. We went to all the villages and so on. We tried our best, Even some of our members who were medical doctors from Canada and co, they came into town. We did medical outreaches. We, helped people and all of that. But on that D-Day, it became a charade. Because on the D-Day, it was about show and vote, right? It became a joke to everybody in Ekiti. Right now, I'm sure they're regretting it, because it's quite disgraceful. It was a case of some people running here. In fact, there were people who ran this way, collected 5,000.
When the other
ran the other way, collected 4,000.
Run with the rabbit and hunt with the hare.
So it was a joke. And you see, it's a big testimony to Nigeria as a project itself. When majority of the people think, look, what's the point? Let me say I should go and vote for what? Vote for who?
Yes.
So to themselves, they don't see a glorious future. For Nigeria, they don't see a glorious future. That's what should matter to people. But the issue now is, number one, and of course, listen, we've got all the evidences, including the BBC camera that moved in there, and people say, vote for Femi, vote for Femi, go for Chiba Fayose. Now, we're even talking about voting for Fayose. It was actually a Leka that they voted for.
Yes.
Fayose was heavily involved.
Was the name.
There's this money they transferred from the state coffers to everybody, every civil servant, 3,000.
The alerts they were receiving
which they then
before.
reversed and all of that, So it was monetized. So Section 124 and 130 of the electoral law criminalizes very clearly the use of money in buying votes, whether before, during, or after any votes.
Yes.
Of course, the INEC and the police and all of the guys that were there, they didn't catch anybody hardly. Maybe if they caught a couple of millions, I'm sure by now they've released them. Yeah. But what my party is doing is that we decided to make a big issue out of it, which I'm going to pursue to the furthest limit, to say that, listen, what we should be looking at is that because this APC and PDP have corrupted the process, and they've corrupted the process of electioneering and democracy in Nigeria as a whole, either by using state funds to grow the party or by using money for vote buying. We want them delicensed and deregistered. We're going to sue, we're in the process, suing INEC, suing APC. I mean, let's go and talk about it.
Yes.
And on that day, we'll be able to mainstream like some of the core evidences that we have. From like people like Ibrahim Mantu going on channels live to say, okay, now he's born again, he's sorry, they've been buying votes in PDP for 16 years and it was there. Yes. We want him to come and say that in court. Yes. And let's know exactly who is what.
But what do you say to those who think that in going to court, your party is trying to achieve through the back door what it can't achieve normally, like by deregistering APC and PDP, then that means that they won't exist, and it will allow parties like yours to rise up.
That is what it has to be. The point is that in 1984, when General Buhari first came into government, he jailed some governors. He couldn't find anything on them. People like Bisi Onabanjo of Ogun State, Ambrose Ali of Bendel State, Upper Aku of Benue State, and so on.
Yes.
He jailed them, some of them for 300 years, for doing one thing, for using state funds to sponsor their party.
Yes.
That's all. It's still in the constitution. It was there then. It's still there now. That it is criminal. Now, when you see a party and so much evidence showing that they've been using state funds to grow their party, what you need to do is actually to sanction the party. And we have actually raised this with even the INEC chairman. If he is the individual that's been sanctioned. But the point is, when it's so rife, and so common, and so pervasive, and so perennial, what you need to do is to sanction the party. When people say, do we need more than two parties? We should, like what they did in 1992 or thereabout, under Babangida, a little to the left, a little to the right, SDP, NRC. I tell people that, listen, if we're going to have two parties in Nigeria, certainly those two parties will not be PDP or APC, because those parties are not distinct in terms of ideology. The latest was Shekarau. I know the bitter fight that guy had with Buhari.
Yes.
All right, now back in APC, this exigency, this whole idea that, it's just about the access to the commonwealth of this country.
Yes.
These people have not done us any favor since 1999. And everybody is running over the place. This one runs here, when it favors the runs, they need to call all of that off right now. Those parties don't have the interests of this country at heart. Those countries are mere special purpose vehicles for people to gain illegal access to the commonwealth of this country. Those two parties have actually championed the impoverishment of the people of this country. The minimum that we should do is to take their licenses. Anybody that's a member will find themselves stranded. And we're going to pursue this to any level, including internationally. And that is going to be our own legacy to this country, to say, listen, enough already. We need to move on. These people have held this country as slaves. They have weaponized poverty. That's why you take 3,000, 4,000 to, and people sell the next 4 years to you. And then they come back and tell you how they are poor. So it's about the weaponization of poverty, which needs to be ended.
Yes.
For any kind of angle we can end it, whether legal, whether through using our brains to whatever kind of angle.
Yes.
And not only Anrp should be involved, as many parties that can be involved, as many human beings, even individuals in this country should be making that move to say, let's call this. We have 89 other parties to deal with. You can always find it there. Let's know what is their ideology. We cannot have two so-called parties. Can you see it in the UK where people are running from Labour to Tories and Tories to Labour? Overnight? Can you see it in the US where people are running from Republican to Democrat? No, it doesn't happen. So what we're doing here is, you can see that we're actually in reverse. From 1951, 1940s, when pair parties were parties, NPC, NCNC, AG and co. Even up to the 70s when parties were parties, UPN, NPN, NPP, GMPP, those are people who made an attempt. Now these guys aren't making any attempt. The same Buhari that jailed those people for 300 years, he's making it look like it doesn't matter. It looks the other way. These guys are using state funds to fund their parties. Using state funds, either you're getting access to people's pay as you earn, that is deducted from at the state level. And that's how you see that every state election that is conducted by the State Electoral Commission, 100% of the time, that ruling party takes everything. Now, so that means that you're taking people's pay as you earn, to fund the party that they don't even belong to. Nobody agreed to that. And at the national level, you're taking people's company income taxes to fund, or you're taking the process of our natural resources to fund your party. It is criminal by every standard.
Join us again after the break. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, it's 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajetomobi. On my hot seat today, the national chairman and presidential aspirant of Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party, Anrp, Tope Fasua. Does it matter to you, though, that these two major political parties, in spite of an absence of ideology, have zoned their presidential ticket to the north, which incidentally has 19 states to the 17 in the south? What that means to me is that will anyone in the 19 northern states choose a southern candidate over a northern candidate?
Yeah, I believe so, because no matter what's happening, what we have seen being on the field is that there's a growing level of intellectualism in Nigeria. Perhaps it's the suffering that's causing it, and the federal election or national election is not going to be quite like what happened in Ekiti. Because this time around, it's a bit more dispersed. The problem with Ekiti is probably that most of the intellectuals, people in Ekiti, they don't live in Ekiti, they live in Lagos and elsewhere. Many of them are abroad as well.
Yes.
So this is going to be different. So yes, we're tapping into that. Look, we're going to so embarrass them intellectually that anyone that votes for APC or PDP will be ashamed to vote for them. There's this group of people who have been, the victims of the weaponized poverty. They're there.
Yes.
And perhaps you say that they're in the majority. Let that be.
Yes.
But there's this group of people who are angry now at all of what's been going on, and they believe that, look, enough already, they're ready to make a change. We're working on those. Those people will be able to work on at least some of these ones for us.
Yes.
So that's the way to work. So because again, we are not party to their zoning. They know what they did. In terms of go to north, go to south, all that has done for us since 1999 is hold this country down to a large extent. We could say, okay, the Obasanjo days are looking like the halcyon days, right? But it's not quite halcyon. It's not quite halcyon.
But how will you change the mindset? The people who take money for their votes, how will you change that? I've had people on the road, when you go to some of these states, they see it as the only chance they have to engage with that person. Madam, this is my dividend of democracy. Now, this one I see now, I will take it. And some of them will say, I will take it, but I will still vote my conscience.
So, but let me tell you, I've taken it a step further. Look, when people like us come into politics, we bring one or two things that we've learned in the private sector, and we're quick on our feet. We're always thinking. We've added something to that. It's not just a case of collect it is your money. We still have money all the same.
Yes.
Number one, let's address this way. For anyone who believes that, okay, this is my dividend of democracy, very cheap. Even if you didn't go to school, even if all you did was go to primary school, it's still very cheap for you to sell your how many years? For 4,000 naira, 5,000 naira. That's years. All right. So, but for those who collect and say it's okay, they'll vote their consciences, that's great. They should do that. But there's one more level. I was in Ondo State in my town in Akure, and I was engaging a number of people who could see that they were poor. Many people looked emaciated. Their children were emaciated. And I said to them, listen, okay, it was a town hall meeting. You know what? The way this is going now, if we have money, we will give you and all of that. But if we don't have money, but whatever it is, you get to some places in Nigeria, you will see so much poverty. You'll be wicked not to give them anything.
Yes.
I told them something. I said, you know what? I'm looking at you now. It seems like 4 years ago, you collected money from these people. This year, they will come again, you collect from them. Chances are that 4 years to come, you still collect from them. Now you have to talk to your own destiny. That, there's something wrong with the money you're collecting. And, all of us, we're all Africans, we're all Nigerians, we watch Nollywood, we have all these traditional beliefs and so on. And you're sure there's nothing wrong with the money they're giving you? Do you know that people can use 50 million naira to, quote unquote, wash their head?
Yes.
And whoever made that thing for them will say, okay, you know what, this money, don't spend anything out of it, give it out to people. All the bad luck that should come to you will go to them. I said, do you know that? They were like shocked. So you know what, collect is your money, pray on the money before you spend. So you see, if we're going to start working on their minds gradually, collect the money is your money, but pray on the money before you spend. Whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, whatever kind of prayer, bless that money before you spend. Because indeed, many of the politicians who give this money, they're also fetish people, right?
Yes.
So for those who believe in the traditional way of thinking and all that, there's something in our money. I've seen many politicians sit down like a little god, like, the Buddha God, They sit down there and then they're giving 500, people are lying, giving 500 naira with one
small rice
or rice or something. Yes. 500 naira. There's got to be a catch. What Nigerians will be careful of is you don't want generational curses. And the way that this country has been run so far is looking like a generational curse. That those who collected money 16 years or 19 years ago are still collecting money today. Peanuts. Listen, what we're bringing to the table here is a different kind of vision. Our people are living in ramshackle houses. I mean, if you went into my manifesto, you see where I mentioned even rural housing. Since this country got independence in 1960, this country has never, ever had any plans whatsoever for the houses that our people in the rural areas will live. The man in the rural area builds his house up to tomorrow with mud.
In the rural areas.
Yes.
Okay.
He builds his house with mud. He builds it anyhow. There's no building code. Nobody says, oh, these are how many windows you should have. The places are poorly ventilated. The rain will start and wash it away. Thunders will come and strike them in there. We have no plans for them. There's no science. We haven't taken any science, not even from our universities or anything, to help them at that level. And they are Nigerians. The closest we've got to low-income housing is Jacondi Estate. How many people can stay in 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom houses? The one that Fashola started building a few years ago before he left, they're very expensive. Maybe 2-bedroom flats go for like 20 million. How many people will get that? And this rural area is where the next level of growth is for this country. So they should stop selling themselves short. Except the man can build you guys a house, estates. We want to have small estates, even if it's room and parlor kind of estates in the rural area. Let us have a prototype. We can even build with the same mod, which you can upgrade. You can upgrade it. We can even tap into our burnt brick industries around the country to provide this. Let's even start something from somewhere. You cannot neglect them. That's why, we shrunk our economy only to the cities. Apart from Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Kano, Calabar. Yeah. Nothing else is happening anywhere. See, we're doing ourselves a disfavor by shrinking. We didn't expand into the cities, we shrink it into the cities. And then everybody leaves the village, comes to the cities are overcrowded, crime happens, tourism stays away. Do you know, this country hardly has one human being coming for tourism in this country. Someone said a South African went to the South Africa, Nigeria embassy, whatever, to say they are coming to Nigeria. So what are you coming for? Say tourism. Say, my friend, this is not Johannesburg. What do you mean you're going to Lagos? Nobody goes to Lagos for tourism, and they denied it. And it's embarrassing enough. When Ethiopia is running about 1.5 million tourists every year, Kenya is doing about 2 million every year, South Africa is doing about 3-4 million every year. What are we doing here?
Okay, so these are the kind of things obviously, if you want to be president, from all what you're saying, it must be because you feel that you have something perhaps better and or different to offer. What is it that you believe that President Muhammadu Buhari is doing badly that you can rectify?
Almost everything is running the economy badly. We're talking about 1.5 million GDP growth. When our population is growing at 3%, 3.5%, that's negative growth, massively. We're talking about 1.5 million percent GDP growth when interest rates are doing 25-30% in the banks, when inflation is doing 11% down from 20%. We're talking of a man who took out of his lethargy a refusal to lead, which is even against the oath he swore to this country. He let the country go into a massive recession.
But that recession wasn't him. It was coming from the back. I mean, come on.
I'll tell you how.
When Jonathan was there, oil was selling at what? About $100. And the moment APC came in, it went down to $20.
No.
Surely that accounted for something.
See, listen, we have to move away from this idea of hinging the economy to oil and oil and oil.
But that's all we sell.
No, but
that's the only thing we have.
That's not all we should be selling.
We've always been mouthing this diversification.
People don't understand what it is, and that's why I'm here. That's why people don't understand what it means to have a diversified economy. It's not taught in any textbook. And what we have are textbook economists running all over the place. And they're the ones that our government has always been contacting. When people come and say sense, they don't listen to sense. They want the guy that's coming from, maybe he's coming from Goldman Sachs or he's working with World Bank. And these guys have agendas that are running.
Yes.
So the point is that this man actually dipped in this recession. And I'll tell you how. It's lethargy. One of the things that happened was the management of the country's currency. The statement from a leader matters. Number one, you refuse to appoint ministers, people to man the economy. You say it doesn't matter, they are only just, what did he call them? He said they were noisemakers. And when he was saying this thing, oil prices tanked. It was an issue where do we find dollars for importation and all of that. Still an import-dependent economy. And then you go to say things like, you're not going to, anybody that has their children abroad, they should go and withdraw them because only some of you. The man has a sort of very funny superiority complex. And he said this on live TV, that people who have their children that cannot afford to find dollars, they should go and withdraw, but some of them can
bring them
afford
back
it.
home.
And his children were there. Actually, we saw two of them graduate from there later on. Now, do you know what happened? I'll give you an example. A woman who has a daughter, right? Let's talk about women, who has a daughter in Ukraine or Russia, where it's very, very cold. Study medicine, maybe year 6, 1 more year to go. Can't find money to buy for that child. Through official means. Mr. Buhari has said, go and sort yourself out. They throw the child out of hostel. The child is out there on the street, shivering, going to suffer from what they call now frostbite or whatever. That woman will buy, and I'm using that example of women because we men, we like to rationalize, let her come back. No, that woman will buy money at any rate. She will sell anything she has to ensure she sends money to that daughter, for that daughter to finish that school. Yes. That was what happened to our Naira. So Naira moved from 199
to the dollar
to 520 to the dollar. When that happens, what happens is that clearly companies that are import dependent can't import anymore.
Yes.
Of course you need to lay off. When you lay off, there's a spiral. The ones that don't lay off, they stop paying salaries. You work for free.
Something
so
suffers.
What is GDP? What do they call depression? Recession is when there's a GDP, the GDP levels. And what is GDP? GDP is the total addition of what everybody gets paid. If half of the people don't get paid, half of the GDP is gone. So the man doesn't know what he's talking about. So in terms of the economy, it's not doing it right.
Yes.
In terms of communication, look, the work of leadership now, in this year 2018, 95% is media, communication, written, spoken, the visuals, body language. President F.D. Roosevelt led America for 16 years plus. He was the only one ever, elected 4 times.
Yes.
He almost did 15 years before he died. He led them. He was on a wheelchair. He had suffered from polio. He led America through the World War II on that chair. And he had what they call fireside chats. Every evening he would talk to his people. All they had were radio transistors. And he would sit down and listen. This is our president. This is what he wants us to do. Churchill did the same. And in 2019, a president cannot communicate, has only one media chat, and that's the end of it. We want a scenario where we should, even state governors, and that's what we're saying now. State governors should be able to communicate and talk to their people on a daily basis. This is me, I'm Governor so, I'm going to work now. I want you guys to be good people today. This is what we should be doing, this is where we should be going, and so on.
Yes. Join us again after the break. Welcome back. Concluding moments now with Tope Fasua. You've said that you will raise Nigeria's budget to 20 trillion. I don't know anything about economics, but they say to me, a budget is an estimate. What difference will it make, whether it is 2 trillion or 20 trillion?
Oh my God. however, there's so much difference. Okay, let me say that, first of all, well, 9.1 trillion, that's the one that they approved recently, even though they haven't made any capital releases this year. Sometimes they approve all those budgets, at the end of the day, they're going to release only half of it. You know? I mean, budgets perform 30% in this country.
Yes.
Especially the capital aspect of it. However, there's so many things to teach on the issue of budget. The first thing is to say that we should not demonize recurrent budgets that much. You know, this country, if I had my way, we can run maintenance budgets only in this country for the next 5 years and say, all we want to do, we're not building any new projects. All old projects should be revisited. The ones that were built and completed must be maintained, spick and span. And if that one is 100% recurring budget, then so be it.
Yes.
This idea of we want capital budgets, that we want to keep building monstrosities every year, things that we can't maintain, many times we're headed in the wrong direction and we keep on going there. Now we're on 9.1 trillion. We used to come from a position of 4.6 trillion, 4 point something trillion, 6 trillion, and then 9 trillion. And it's looking so big. Number one. But the first thing is this. When you dollarize that amount, it's down to about 25 billion, which compares with the 6 trillion. In fact, the 6 trillion budget of 2017 is bigger than this one slightly.
Because of the exchange rate.
Because of the exchange rate, you know, and so on. So, and even when you compare it backward to the 4 trillion, 4.some trillion of Jonathan days at 170, it still compares with what we do. So we're not quite moving. The figure looks like it's bigger. But what we're saying is, number one, if we look at what other countries around us are doing, it's shameful. Why would Nigeria, with 180 million people to feed, have a federal budget of $25 billion, which is 9.1 trillion divided by 360, which is the going rate on the street. And Kenya is budgeting $29 billion. And that's the closest that we have. Kenya is budgeting $29 billion. Kenya, maybe there are 40 million people in Kenya, thereabout. You know, Angola, which I'd like to use as an example, with 25 million people, Angola is budgeting about $47 to $56 billion this year. And they've been doing that consistently. I've been tracking that consistently. If you went to Rwanda now, you know, which is perhaps one of the most expensive cities in the world, you probably won't believe that you're in Africa. It doesn't look anything like Africa.
Yes.
Now, why is South Africa budgeting $155 billion? $155 billion for its 58 million people this year. And then we say that Nigeria is a bigger economy than South Africa. Look, we deceive ourselves so much about this idea of private sector. Our private sector, they have also become a victim of their own rhetoric. They don't know that they can do a lot better if government was responsible. And so the first thing is this: if you employ a new CEO to maybe a TV channel or station, for example, and the person can tell you that, look, Channels is doing 10 billion every year, or whatever. TVC is doing 20 billion every year. This one is doing this one every year. That's a good place to start. Why are we doing 500 million in this station? That's a good place to start. Sometimes, you know, the new sheriff comes in, you have to flog everybody to attention. So it is very important because our budget at 9.1 trillion, converted into dollars at $25 billion per person, the federal government is budgeting $140 per human being per year. That $140 is what they've budgeted for road, for schools, for security, for education, for
health,
everything. You know, if you divide that by 365 days, that is 30 cents a day per person. And somebody will show up, and the 50% of that money will disappear in corruption. So much of that money gets paid to ghost workers. According to the police, Okiro, the former chairman of the PSC, we have about 80,000 ghost policemen. Then out of the ones that's raining, half of them are guarding big men. And the big men, the money that they're paying, we don't know where it is. Look at that revenue source. If somebody says he's a big man and he needs police protection,
and
why is he not paying for it? Why is he not paying into TSA? And of course, you know the scandal with Issa Misau, senator, who is also a former policeman, and said that, look, the IG...
There's money going in there and disappearing.
10 billion naira every month, that's 120 billion. These are the revenue sources we need to chase. If we had done that, look, we can employ a lot more policemen in this country.
Yes.
And can secure the country better. Then the tourists can come. Our people in diaspora will not be, they'll come back home, they'll be happy, everybody will be happy. We can move this budget up. And then there's a lot of non-compliance. Again, I must say this before we break that. What the government is entitled to is not only taxes. Government is entitled to taxes, rates, fees, fines, duties. You understand? These are different income levels and income sources.
But you know that people are reluctant to pay these things because we don't feel that we're getting anything.
Exactly. So the first thing to do is leadership by example. When they see that, all the money they paid, you use it to buy jeeps for yourselves and you chase them out of the road. Do you know, unfortunately, listen, I mean, I'm one of those people, I supported Buhari in 2015. I did, maybe shamefully, because some people take me up on it and say, whatever. But the point is that he came in and he did not even make any statement on the use of siren and this oppression that we see on the street. Jonathan actually did make a statement. Yaradua made a statement. Obasanjo made a statement. Sometimes they follow it for a few days and then they stop.
Yes.
Look at what happened recently when this current IG wanted to withdraw the police from the big men. I told a friend of mine, we bet on it. He lives abroad. I said, don't worry, give them 2 days. So talking now, they can't do it. It's a shame for a president who comes in and can't even move his cabinet around and say, look, you leave aviation, move to transport, move from transport, go to power. And so, you need to do that. Why? Because no team is perfect.
Okay. Because I was going to say, are we just going to change for the sake of changing?
There's no, look, Nigerians love football. It will be a hopeless coach who will allow his team to play one and a half hours straight when there are people sitting on the bench. You move them around. Or you're not even getting involved. You can even say, okay, fine, if you don't even have people on the bench, you say, oh, you, don't play that way, don't fall back here, you move this way. That's active coaching. That's active leadership. So listen, we didn't get any of this from Buhari. And so basically, he gets his just desserts. Left to me, if it were people like me alone, I'd be kicking him out in 2019 big time. But of course, because of weaponized poverty, a lot of people will go and say, oh, let the Baba continue and all that. This is not about respect. I respect him as an old man, but as a leader, it's very disappointing.
Now, how will you cope with the National Assembly? We've seen the acrimonious relationship, awkward between the executive and the legislature, even though they're all from the same party. Depending on what side of the fence you are, you might use the word hostile, fractured. How would you, as a president of what is essentially still a minority party, handle that relationship with the legislature to push forward some of the ideas that you have listed in your manifesto?
Thank you very much. The first thing is to have those ideas, right?
Yes.
Many of the time, the problem we have is people don't even have the ideas. I've heard even some of my co-aspirants, some of them will say, well, when they ask about economy, don't worry, what I will do, I will put the right person in the right place. That's so vacant. It's such a vacuous statement. You put the right people. How do you tell the right people? How many times have we had people bring PhDs and all of that and then come and mess up?
Yes.
See, so that's why it's important for a leader to have at least some of the ideas. Right? Nobody knows it all. You have to have some of the ideas. Now, in terms of driving it, see, the reason why, you said it rightly, in the same party is so much acrimony.
Yes.
Because there's no emotional intelligence on the part of the leader. Okay, and of course, some of these people that are driving the process, and you can see things deteriorating to this level. Ordinarily speaking, what we should be doing to the National Assembly, and that's the reason why I'm not running for Senate or House of Rep. What we should be doing is to reduce that level of expenses. Even I don't know how that's going to happen, but I'm contesting as president, partly in order to mainstream that idea that look, like in Senegal, they got rid of their Senate. I was discussing this with a member of the House of Reps who said, "Yeah, but we're not Senegal." I said, "But we're also not US. We're not the United States. What gives you the gumption to have a House of Reps and have a Senate like the United States? Can you pay for it? Do you have the same history as the United States?" We could even see that the United States, they built it from the bottom up. Yes. It was the state of Virginia. They were then independent territory. Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, coming together. They said, listen, let us be federalists. Let us unite. I've read what they call the Federalist Paper, 85 papers. That was written in the 1700s into early 1800s, written by John Jay, James Madison, and Alexander Hamilton. These guys were the ones that laid the basis. Some of them were 32 years old. James Madison was 32. Hamilton was 36 years old when they wrote the Federalist Papers and justified the need for the state,
unity.
The place called Virginia, Georgia, and co. to come together. It was about unity. It was then after coming together, okay, fine, how do we represent? Okay, then how do we have Senate? They set the purpose here. We got it imposed from the top, and we want to run like America.
How
we
will
don't
you?
have the finance.
How will you change?
So emotional intelligence and communication, and sometimes you have to negotiate, tit for tat. Okay, you know what? I want this. Okay, what am I going to give you? I'll give you this. But see, I'm not running for National Assembly right now because number one, we need to reduce the expense at that level. Either one of them disappears, and I will favor the Senate leaving, and we cannot continue like this. If we continue like this, our children, I'm saying this to camera now, our children should ensure that they come and change the system because the system that's not working and it will not work. I don't care how you do it, but it has to be changed. or the two of them work part-time. I was in the House of Lords in 2013 in the UK, in London. I met one of the Lords there, and we were discussing and all that. And what did they earn in the House of Lords, which is the Senate of the UK? The UK that gave us independence. £150 per sitting.
Yes.
And if you don't come for that sitting,
you don't get it.
It used to be £300. When at that time the recession was still there and all of that, global recession, they wrote to them and said,
but you see, that's the thing. To change the laws.
Have a scenario where look at this guy. Who was that? Senator Shehu Sani, who came and revealed how much money they. I mean,
13.5 million.
Look, these people are still. Most of them are still living in the hunter-gatherer dark age kind of thing. You know what I mean?
They won't change a winning.
You don't care. You build all the houses. All they do is build houses.
They're benefiting from
it.
They're benefiting from it. They're not going to change
it. That's what I'm saying. However, the discussion needs to be mainstream because there's going to come a torpedo at some point in time that's going to torpedo all of those things out. They won't change themselves. That's why I'm not joining them. If I say, okay, look, even if I could get to the Senate now, House of Rep, I'm just going to go there to earn money. And everybody forgets it. I mean, Dino was at a point in time doing a Luta up and down. Now he's showing off his Ferrari and Lamborghini and all of that.
Yes.
So let's not deceive ourselves. It will work. But what needs to continue is that this debate about what kind of governance we want in Nigeria, the cost of governance, and our history, something to take into consideration our history. I told that lady, the House of Rep member, I said, look, we're not US. Look, in the US, they vote for the sheriff, which is like the local DPO.
Yes.
And they did not come to Nigeria to say, please, we want to start voting for sheriff. Somebody opens O-level textbook of government for me and tells you how the only level of government that's recognized in the federalism, papers written by 32-year-old people in 1796, that the only government that is the state and federal government. Who said that you cannot include your own local government in Nigeria because if only our head was correct and we understand that we need to grow that level and ensure that our people are not living like wild animals because they're in the villages. And we have to go and collect approval from the US to do that. These are the issues in restructuring.
Yes.
However, many people will come and they seem to believe that the issue is about geographical discussion. The north is not one of us, the south is not here. That's not the issue. For me, that's not the issue. Of course, it's also relevant, but it's not the issue. If we start from that point, we're just talking about breaking the country into smithereens. And the moment we start breaking this country, we will not stop breaking this country.
Okay, I'm talking about breaking this country. Where do you stand on the matter of nationalism? I mean, do you support those who want to leave Nigeria, such as Biafra or Oduduwa Nation?
I don't, actually. That's the truth. I don't. I think it's born out of angst. I think they're angry, justifiably so.
Yes.
But it is not the way forward. Again, like I said, the moment you start breaking this country and seceding and all of that, it'll never end. For the Biafra one, especially, I was very, very wary of the activities of Nnamdi Kanu when he was still around. Around that time that he wanted to do what he wanted to do, I was actually in the east of Nigeria. I saw all the lockdown and everything. And I was just telling my friends on the east, don't do this. It's going to be the most stupid thing you ever did, because the southeast of Nigeria, for me, is averagely the most developed part of Nigeria. Number one, according to MBS and CBN sources, Anambra State is the richest state per capita.
That's the Bureau of Statistics.
Yes, and that's the richest state per capita. These guys understand business. They understand capital. They build things. They get into business. They make profits. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They don't just say, okay, let's go and work in the civil service. So the wealth that they built, it's wealth that you can't jeopardize it for a second time. They knew what happened in 1960 and 1970. This time warfare has become something else.
Yes.
With drones, you can level whole cities. I said, but you are the one, you don't bring war to your own zone. War has changed. You see that the wars that the US gets involved, they go to Syria, they go to Iraq, and then lambast them and lampoon them in those places and say they are fighting war. It's one-sided.
Yes.
Before, when wars were fought, people went on the field and then each one riding their horses, battle, and now it's coming hand to hand and all of that. You are shooking the spear and everything, So I told them, so it won't work. It won't work today, it won't work tomorrow. Before we get to that point, number one, let's ensure that we put money in people's pockets and reduce the level of poverty and hunger. If someone who has food to eat stops to think about, I want to just go on my own.
Yes.
If you pop the question today and say, should we break Nigeria up? Because people are so poor, they say, let's do it. In 1 minute, we would actually get to that decision. All right, but if we want to do it well, let us ensure good governance first. Put people like us into government where necessary. But even if you don't have to do that, but buy some of the ideas that we're pushing, all right, and let's get this country working properly. I don't believe in that. Again, the other thing is this. I conducted what's called an etymological study. I've seen on that, really. When I used to play Scrabble growing up, with those Chambers Dictionary, you go back to, and then you see etymology, the origin of words. For example, do you know that Igala, if you want to say 1 to 10 in Igala, AG is AG, Eta is Eta, all right? Eri is Eri, Ejo is Ejo,
Yes.
Yeah, AJ is AJ. So out of the figures 1 to 10 in Igala language, about 7 of them are the same. Ewa is Ewa.
As Yoruba.
So where do you want to cut off the Yoruba? If an Igala person is speaking here, Yoruba person understands 30% of what he's saying, and vice versa. And if an Igala man is speaking and Idoma man is speaking, almost 50% of the language is the same. Languages flow. So when someone comes, it's intellectual fraud for you to come and tell me that, this is where it's at, and you cook up some story and say, this is where the boundary is. There were no boundaries before. There were no boundaries in that sense.
Yes.
Every society picks a bit of the language from language and culture from north, west, east, and south of it.
Yes.
That's why you see that when you go to Benin and Owo, the Obas of these two places, they dress the same. The same regalia. There's Uselu in Benin, there's Uselu in Owo. There are names of towns and cities in both ways.
Identical.
There's a place in Asaba where the language they speak is our language. If you want to start talking about restructuring and all those and nationalism, the first thing you should do is let's conduct a proper etymological and sociological study, anthropological study of this country, and let's be very honest about it. And you will see how languages flow into each other. So Benin language flows through Ibanke and then flows into Igbo, into Asaba, and then into Igbo. Yeah. And then when you go to the end of Igbo, you see how Igbo flows into through Ebonyi, flows into Calabar, flows into Akwa Ibom, and now Akwa Ibom flows into Cameroon. So you don't even start with that. It's not so cut and dry. But Badagry people here in Lagos, they don't speak Yoruba. They speak Igbo. We don't understand what they say. I mean, we don't understand their language. It was until I met the Badagry person on Facebook that I realized I didn't know that they feel oppressed in Lagos. And she insisted that, look, don't ever call me Yoruba again. Not to me, but someone was calling her Yoruba. I said, look, I'm not Yoruba, I'm Badagry. We don't speak Yoruba. We may have learned. So some people come and want to say, this idea, listen, we don't stop one oppression, let's create another oppression.
Another one.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So things, let's present ourselves the way we are. At the end of the day, what should be connecting with is our humanity. And if we can get that humanity by good governance, sustained over a period of time, this country is a global capital of inequality as we speak. We don't have to be this unequal. We don't have to have 90 million people in abject poverty. We don't have to be the country with the highest number of people who are in extreme poverty in the world, ahead of India. We don't have to be the country with the highest number of child mortality before 5 years old, of maternal mortality. We are hitting the radar in the very wrong ways, and this is what needs to be corrected. Before this idea of let's break. When someone will talk about let's break up and all of that, what we don't understand what's saying is that we're saying that we are unable to govern ourselves. And the world is taking note. Okay, fine. You say, this your territory is too large. Okay, no problem there. One day, God forbid, one day, and that's the reason why I'm getting involved now, because of the sense of urgency.
Yes.
One day, if we're not careful, those who understand what we have may come and take it from us. If we don't know how to run this country, those who can run it will come and take it.
Will come and run it for us.
Because again, look at a place like China, 1.4 billion people. If you went on YouTube and check it out, watch what they do. The other time, the President Xi Jinping, last year, 2017, he went to the hills of China, to the poorest areas. Some of the places were 2,000 meters above sea level. He drove, he didn't go there in blind sirens. He went to three cars and went up the hill to go and see the people. He sat with them, he sat on their bed. He said, where's your water? He tasted their water. It's okay, this is a big chemical. He tasted their food. So he asked them, what are your aspirations?
What can we do for you?
A president of the largest country on earth, And the next time I saw where they said they create a file for all of those, every family has a file. Because they're looking at precision in terms of targeting poverty. By 2020, they're out of poverty. That's the target. I shared a speech on my page. I had to sit down on his 2018 speech and I started writing down, typing what he was saying in English. Was translated.
I'm sure many people have said to you as one of the newcomers, why are you starting right from the top?
Exactly.
That brings me to the question of PACT, the presidential aspirants who all came together, and how that failed.
Well, the guys who put it together, I won't agree that it has failed.
Were you a part of it?
Almost tired of talking about it anyway.
Were you a part of it?
I started in the beginning.
Yes.
First of all, let me say that I'm going for the office of the president. I don't want to sit in Aso Rock, right? That's the truth. Even if I want.
What do
I
you
probably
say
won't
to
use
those
the
who
place.
think that you're
Because
starting
the
too
place-
high?
The place is haunted. I've seen many good people go in there and then start to act crazy.
Yes.
So people have to be careful, and it's not the first time. I was reading about the new president of Pakistan, Imran Khan. Imran Khan refused to stay in there. In fact, he turned it to a university. Aspirant should be turned into a university or something like that.
What do you say to those who think you're starting too high?
No, well, because what I have to say to them is that Nigeria's problem is not at the local government level. What's my business there? You go there, you're frustrated, you're complaining about how your governor is oppressing you. Yeah? Then the governors are complaining about how the other guy ate the money, right? And then took so much loans before they got there, and how the federal government is not giving them enough money and all of that. So the only thing you can do is bring your ideas and use it to, it's like a kind of positive disruption. You disrupt the top. And when you disrupt the top, you disrupt everywhere.
Would you consider merging with another party for your message to get there?
We don't mind if the party is, it's not going to be my decision. I don't run the party like a sole proprietorship.
Yes.
Have other EXCO members and all that, they decide on that. But it's not going to be easy because we have an ideology.
Yes.
And that ideology is called positive pragmatism. Positive and constructive pragmatism. Yeah. And what that means is that we don't get boxed into capitalism, into socialism, into liberalism, neoliberalism, all this stuff, right? We are a common sense driven party. We look at only the policies that work for Nigeria and for our present circumstances, and we go with that. The policies that's going to improve the humanity of Nigeria and lift us out of this poverty and out of this morass that we find ourselves. That's what we are. That's why we're positive pragmatists in our party. So to a large extent, the problem with this country is right at the top. For example, who's going to mainstream some of these ideas I mentioned on the kind of restructuring that we're supposed to be doing? You know what I mean? So who's going to mainstream it? One of my ideas in this manifesto is, look, instead of the current 52% or 54%, 26% for state, 20% for local government, we should actually turn it over. 20% for federal government, 25% for federal government, 35% for state, and 40% for the local government. However, because we have seen how the states have sat on the local government.
Will you make the local governments totally independent?
We can. We should, that's a debate we should be driving. But in the meantime, if we're able to achieve this new level of, this new ratio of revenue sharing, right? The states should be able to be happy because their allocation is moving up from 25% or 26% to 35%, which is a lot more money for them. But that money going to the local government must be jointly administered by a committee of the federal, state, and local. So we need to give them some level of autonomy at the local government. But see, the point is that level is where the money needs to be spent. Yeah. My sister, please, when we go abroad, we go to villages, we see what happens in their villages. The fact that you're in the village does not mean you're an animal. You're still a citizen of the country. Yeah. There must be roads, there must be water, there must be light.
And it's the local government that does that.
It must happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. It must happen, and that's why they need the bulk of the money. Not this present shenanigan that's going on, where the governor sits on the money, nobody just calls them and gives them. In fact, I have friends who are local government chairmen in some parts of Nigeria. They don't stay in their local government. They stay in the capital city. They go there once in a while. As a local government chairman, you should stay in your local government. You should govern your local government. You don't get on your high horse and think, look, governance has broken in Nigeria. Some of us who are stepping up are only trying against all odds to see what we can do to correct some of these anomalies.
This is from my research, speaking about women. In the penal code in the North, we've seen some sections of the law, section 353, for instance, indecent assault against a man is a felony. Indecent assault against a woman is a misdemeanor. Then we come to section 55, subsection 1 of the Penal Code. For the purpose of correction, a woman can be disciplined by the husband as long as no grievous harm can be committed. Now, grievous harm is defined as loss of sight, loss of hearing, loss of speech, facial disfigurement, or life-threatening injuries. I mean, these are the sort of anomalies that women in Nigeria are facing. These are women in the North. We talk about the police force. A serving female police officer under the Police Act may only marry with the consent of the Commissioner of Police if she has served for at least 3 years. and the husband is of good character. And who determines that he is of good character? It is the same commissioner of police. How will you deal with this sort of thing? How will you change this mindset? And I keep saying 19 northern states. Will they allow such an entrenched part of the law to be changed?
According to James Michener, he said an age was called dark.
Yes.
Not because the light refused to shine, but because people refuse to see the light. At times I believe that Nigeria is still living in many respects.
Yes.
In his own dark ages, we're refusing to see the light. And actually, this is new on me. The section 353, discipline your wife.
Yes.
Whereas I don't want a scenario where women sometimes also the women lead to they are kind of maxing out in some ways, but it is totally egregious for us to. That's a law that belongs in the dark ages in short.
Yeah.
Why is it? Why are you? A woman is not your child, even if it was your child.
She's not your chattel.
You know what I mean? It's not your property. You can just beat up. It's not even your. People are talking about animal protection right now. You can't just beat a goat anyhow or beat a dog anyhow and say, "Well, since I did blind them." At what point do you determine that you're not going to blind them or make them crippled?
Yes.
So again, but mind you, when you want to achieve this, slowly catch a monkey. So you have to be very, very diplomatic about it.
Yes.
And go gradually and then wait for your opportunity and get what you want. This country must change. I've said it. If we don't change it, at least we're trying.
Yes.
But if we don't change it, our children must actually do it. The one on the Commissioner of Police, that is the reason why you can imagine, of course, you hear about the scandal involving the present IG. Perhaps that's the reason why some of them who are big men like that have so many women in the police to choose from. Again, there are international treaties and laws that we have subscribed to as a country,
yes,
which precludes you from some kind of nonsensical abridgment of people's rights.
Yes.
I don't see why a policewoman will do that. Of course, they will say she has signed it because when she was coming in, they used it as a threat and so on.
Yes.
So what's that about? Which first of all, then go and find out what does international law say about that. How is this done in other jurisdictions that are progressive?
Yes.
And then we come back and hit them. It's just going to be a throwback to the legal approach we're taking to try and reset this politics in this country with the PDP and APC. All of these options are open for us to explore.
Yes.
I think that if we have intelligent and honest people in this country, especially shooting at the level that are shooting right now, we can get a lot of things corrected. These are laws that belong in the dark ages and they should remain in the dark ages.
If I tell you that up till 1999, a married woman could not get a passport without her husband's consent, and I know that personally. Up till 1999, think about what I'm saying.
Now that's one thing again. Do you know that the restructuring debate that's taking on a new life of its own is because since 1999, we've gone to sleep. We haven't had new groundbreaking pronouncements, all right? So at 1999 was when they did this one. We need new things to happen now.
Yes.
And that's why people are agitating because it seems like we've just gone to sleep and not did anything. Whether it's revenue allocations, since 1999, the 50-something percent,
it's the same formula.
Whether it's derivation formula, 13% since 1999 has been the same. Whether it's state creation or whether it's you want to collapse the state together since 1999 to now, everything. So the restructuring debate also suffers the same problem. And perhaps as you're seeing now, all of us are getting more and more enlightened and we're getting access to more information. All of these things should be mainstreamed, and we need those very momentous pronouncements to be made because a government is a continuum.
Yes.
Otherwise, many of the countries where they have achieved stuff, by now they wouldn't have a government, but they still have government because it needs to continue. So, but a lot of governance also depends on us as citizens of this country to bring out some of these issues and throw them up for correction.
In my introduction, I said you're a former banker, an economist, and an author, and I have here about 6 books that you've written. I want you to take us through all the books. This is The Race for Capital and other out-of-the-box economic arguments. What is this about?
Anyway, in your introduction, you said I was an associate of the Institute. I'm a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants.
Right. Okay.
But this one is my third book. It's a big argument. This book has it dovetails into discussion about inequality in the world. In fact, this morning, before I came here, I was watching Dambisa Moyo, and I think she just came out with another book, The Edge of Chaos, and so on. And so she was discussing, the issue of inequality in the world.
Yes.
So the race of capital is the discussion about who gets what and why. Who gets what capital. We see many times we have a lot of local champions here.
Yes.
But you don't understand that there are boys on Wall Street whose legitimate bonuses every year is $20 million. And they've not been more than 30 years old. So you're here, you're saying you're a big local champion, you have access to government funds,
Yes.
you build one funny estate somewhere that nobody's living in, you don't know what time it is. So when you're not holding yourself down, you're holding the rest of us down. So now the issue is also to say, according to Thomas Piketty,
Yes.
a book which is titled Capital in the 21st Century, and the big issue is the divergent in income, and then when they're thinking, what do we do with these guys that are dropping off? Especially the fact that many people can't get jobs anymore. 47% of jobs will disappear in the next 10 years, for example.
Yes.
And already we can see that reality. So there's a man in The Guardian, the chief economist at The Guardian, called Paul Mason. He suggested that the way forward, and which is why I buy, is
Yes.
that government must become extremely, very, very responsible to the extent that only little amount of money will people need. That's the future. In a place like UK, you can see that work. With £20 or £25 or so, you can buy a travel card that takes you anywhere within London in a week.
Yes.
If you bought in advance, maybe with £200 you can get for a whole month or something like that.
Yes.
So you see, then you don't need someone. The same transport you are entering is decent enough for the bank MD and yourself to be inside the tube and all that. That is the way forward. Food should be cheap. That's the way forward. That's why governance is key. That's why those who mainstream only capital, who mainstream only private sector, they don't know what they're talking about. That's what this book says.
Okay. And this is called Nigeria's Story is My Story.
Well, that's the one where I tried to write a little bit about myself. I don't think I'm that important yet, but some sort of little bit of autobiography is there, my circumstances of my birth, and how I managed to get to where I am today. But also in that book is some of my political write-ups, which are specific to Anrp.
Right.
How we got to this point, some of the issues here and there, and so on.
What pushed you?
Some of my and also some of my speeches. Some of the speeches I've given on the platform of being a chairman.
Yes.
They are in there. I try to separate my sociological and political thoughts, as well as a bit of my autobiography in that book.
Okay. I have the third book here, Revolution of Ideas.
That's my fifth book, whereas that one is my fifth, the one earlier. Now this one has the same title as my manifesto. What I did was, this is like my manifesto, or my economic ideas in a longer
version.
Longer version. So, and they're kind of cutting edge, because it's a build up from where I'm coming from.
Yes.
So in terms of how do we tackle sectors of the economy and what have you, the more, and then some of the deeper economic thought. For example, I'm the guy who's writing about, how to fuse atomic energy into economics and finance. Because I studied a bit, I had a brainwave. I studied, what was Einstein talking about with his E is equal to MC squared equation, right? Yes. And I then studied, I'm not a scientist, I then studied atomic energy. I realized that what they say is that every mass is made of atoms, right? But every atom is also made of energy. So the mass is made of energy, the atom is made of energy. If you can release most of the explosions you see, that's why they were able to do the Hiroshima and Nagasaki stuff, right? Before, maybe a kind of explosion is it's only the explosion of the atoms. But if you can get an explosion of each atom, that's what they call atomic energy. And when I relate it to finance, especially government finance and fiscal responsibility, I realize that what they're trying to say is that every naira in government should go far. Every naira should justify itself in government. So when you carry money and throw abroad to import stuff, you're dissipating your own energy. Every naira should be made to recycle in Nigeria. And there's that story about in America, the Jewish community, the black community, the Spanish and the Caucasian and so on, where $1 paid to a Jewish man stays in the Jewish community for 19 days.
Yes.
He gets paid, he shops in a Jewish shop, he goes to a Jewish cafe, he goes to a Jewish cinema, whatever. But for the black, they say it stays for only 6 hours. The moment you collect our money, there are no black businesses to invest in. we share some to the Koreans, to the Chinese, to the Caucasians, to the whatever. So some of those higher level economic ideas, I try to put it in there. Sometimes I write these things, I don't know whether they will make sense.
Yes.
I think consistently over time, I've been able to establish a certain way of making logic,
And that's one of the points. Watching the documentary on hair and extensions by Chris Rock, it's talking about how the Asians have cornered that business. Can you believe that a lot of the black hair care products and extensions are not even owned by blacks?
They're owned by Indians.
They're not. This is Crushed, Navigating Africa's Tortuous Quest for Development, Myth and Realities.
That's my first book, I think in 2008-9, so I wrote that one. My first attempt at stepping out to be an author because, it's also a strange thing.
Yes.
So, you have to start from somewhere. So my best chapter in that book is chapter 2 because I was working with the book written by someone called Professor Neil Ferguson, who's based in Harvard, who is a British person. And in that chapter, a lot of old English is there. I'm fascinated by that old English. Again, playing Scrabble.
Yes.
The
words.
Things like yay, d, and so on.
Yes.
I like that because you see a lot of revelations there, about colonialism, slave trade, how we got to this point.
Yes.
My point in writing that is to say that, look, sometimes you have to come to terms with your reality and, move on. You don't have to just stay and complain about, I'm not one of those people who say that, the white man came and colonized us, they didn't ask us. It's so ridiculous. And I hear this from intellectuals.
Yes.
And you tell us how the white man came, they did not ask us before joining us together. How so unfair can we be? Because even we took ourselves slaves. And no slave master will ask his slave, well, what do you want to eat in the morning? So sometimes we shouldn't be kind of delusional, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But that Crushed is actually an acronym for the solution to Nigeria's problem. C stands for we should look at the strategy that China has used. And this afternoon too, I was reading something. I was reading the same time I was listening to. She said that one economist wrote about different economies and said there are only 4 types of economy in the world: developed, underdeveloped, China, and Argentina.
Yes.
He said that China or Japan, and that these guys managed to turn around from the poorest to the richest, and we can't explain how. So it doesn't fit any model. So China is C for China, C for courage, because they say without courage, all other virtues lose their meaning.
Yes.
Okay. C for anti-corruption, and C for culture. That we must master our culture before we can move on in this country. R stands for to be reasonable and responsible, because this is our core.
Yes.
U stands for unity, S stands for strategy, H stands for hard work, history, and humility. That we must be humble. In order to be proud, we must be humble.
Yes.
E stands for education and D stands for democracy. But what we're saying in those ones is to say we need to tweak those 2 things, education and democracy. We don't just buy it off the shelf.
Yes, yes. All right. Change is going to come. Ideas for the true repositioning of Nigeria and other developing countries.
Absolutely. Again, another incursion into deep economics. That one came out in 2015, and what I tried to do, put some of my thoughts together, because at that time, my thoughts had gone beyond the level of Crushed and escalated. I was having some crazy ideas about systems-based economic management, how different sectors fit into each other. One of the things that's very remarkable about that is my take on the environmental sector as an employment-generating unit, you know what I mean? So that's what I discussed there. I believe that, look, right now what we have is a lot of unskilled labor, and you need to find a place to put them, you don't have a choice, So I believe that the environmental sector, we need to get finicky with our environment. If we can get finicky with our environment, we can get
there.
Yeah.
All right. Things to do before your career disappears. How globalization, computerization, robotization, and the deadly competition among companies and countries are affecting your career and your world.
Absolutely. That's a big book. Second book of mine. This is self-explanatory there, but again, I wrote this book because I came across an article that talks about, that in the US, that they realize that the reason why they don't have people are unemployed is not because they're not creating employment, but because robots and
computers are taking over
the jobs. So now the thing is that Human beings are not that, labor is not that interesting as a factor of production anymore. Those people say, land, labor, capital.
Yes.
Capital has taken a lot more leverage than labor could ever have as a factor of production. So for countries like Nigeria, where what you have is human beings milling all over the place, you had better think. And that's why I'm getting involved also in this presidential stuff. The sense of urgency we require is unprecedented. You have to have that sense of urgency to stick them where you need to stick them. I did a list of almost all careers that can be imagined, and most of them were threatened, including things like lawyering. Because, for example, legislative assistants are no longer required. There are software you can buy today
that will do it.
That will just, you want to research a similar case, you have typed into search, and they give you the different whatever, and you can just say, who needs a legislative assistant?
Yes.
So even many medical doctors now are getting, we are having telemedicine and, robots that are performing. And look, we shouldn't say, it's not going to be possible. That's what we do in Africa a lot. We believe it's not going to be possible.
Until it passes us by.
We have never been at the cusp of innovation. We don't even just have that mindset. However, we know how to buy the innovation that other people do. For example, look at textile industry. I was in Kotoka Airport in Accra the other day, and there's this guy that's weaving the kente there. And the technology is a 17th century technology, the loom. There's something far there, and then you pull it and you keep it. It takes a long period of time for you to weave a small length of cloth, right?
Yes.
And that's what we do with Ashofi or the
Ashofi and all of them.
The Angay is the one, the black and white, the Benue people wear. That's the same technology, and that's the reason why Africa is not clothing itself, because we can't even manufacture that enough to go around for everybody. Otherwise, that's what we should be wearing to the office, right? But as that guy was weaving that thing, on the ground was a Samsung phone, a smartphone, playing music on the radio. That's how technology catches up with you. So you're using a 21st century technology, which you have bought at so much cost, and we will never look. Africa will never get out of problems at this rate. We don't understand. We think people think that this presidential thing is, show off, looks good.
You want to have former presidential candidate on your card.
We will never get. Look, do you know how many tubers of yam do you need to buy one food? I could even begin to break it down for you. Something I'm working on now. How many barrels of crude oil does it take? Crude oil sells for, let's say, $70 now, for example. $70 at 300 is 21,000 naira. If you are holding a phone of 200,000, that is 10 barrels of crude oil you are holding in your hand. How many crude oil barrels do we get on a daily basis? Maybe $2 million. 2 million barrels. Now, out of 2 million barrels, only 1 million is ours. The rest belongs to the people who assisted us. Production sharing contracts or JV, whatever it is. Only half belongs to Nigeria. So we will never produce enough crude oil to get out of problem. That is what we're getting into debt every day, debt. Even personally, we're stretching us to take what we could never afford. And nobody is actually correcting us to say, listen, the way you're thinking is not right.
Yes.
So that's the kind of way I think about it. So that's what the book is about. It is not the business of the private sector to provide employment. I'm saying this again. The private sector is only set up for the maximization of profit, using as few resources as possible. Any government that comes there, you private sector, we should go and create jobs, it's an irresponsible government. But first thing is that, number one, you have 180 million, the government must first of all standardize itself. We must establish a minimum level of standard of living for our people, right? If they need water, send your people there to go and give them water. If they need light, go and give them light. It's the same human being that you're going to use to reorganize society.
Yes.
We don't need civil servants in Alausa or in Federal Secretariat in Abuja or in Alagbaka, in Akure or something. We don't need civil servants in those places pushing files all over the place. Send them to the villages, let them go and get something done. Then when they go there, even the money you pay them, they'll spend some of that in the village. As now, all of us, we fly over there. You're coming from Lagos to Abuja. You fly over that thing in a technology that you could never invent. And sometimes we even tank on it. We want the latest. The other time we look at what the Senate said. Every time we hear every year they buy cars for themselves. And you see an African Nigerian senator, so I want the full specs, 2019 edition, must have this one,
bulletproof,
must have this facility. It's madness. The world is watching us and wondering what's wrong with these people. Fine, if you want to do that with your personal money, that's great.
Yes.
But with government money, it's sacrilege. It's sacrilege. You can't do any of those things. We need something to hit us upside the head so that can correct our brains, because we're not just thinking right.
Reset.
So we need that level of humility in order to get forward.
I wish you all the best, Mr. Fasua. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
And thank you for watching. I'm Angela Ajetomobi.